Welcome back, YouTube. Another episode of Coinsy Welds. Today, I'm gonna show you guys a cool technique on how to weld thin square tubing onto thicker pieces of metal or angle bars. We're gonna use an angle bar today. I'm gonna show you guys that little edge joint and a T-joint. Don't forget to stay to the end to see the results. Also, leave a comment in the description below to tell me what you want to see next. Sometimes you don't have wire cutters available, or you just don't want to run all the way to the back. Simply fold your wire back. Start there. Another really cool one is with Fluxcore, you don't have another wire clippers or anything like that around, you're not trying to go back for some, you can pull this and twist and it'll give you a clean cut all the time. Something like this. You just pull, you twist, perfect cut every time. You always want to focus your heat on the thicker material. We know the angle bar is thicker than this thin square tubing. So the way we're going to start this is we're going to focus our heat on here. Once we establish that puddle, we're simply going to swipe a little, just enough to touch the square tubing, come back. We're going to focus the heat on the angle bar. Once we start, we whip this way, come right back. Let it build, whip, come back. Let it build, whip, come back. Build, whip, come back. Let it build, whip, come back. Let it build, whip, come back, all the way through. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys up close to show you what it looks like. That's what that looks like. You guys saw it. Concentrate most of your heat on the thicker piece of material and just whip enough to get fusion and penetrate both sides. Going downhill. So now we're gonna do a T-joint in the flat position. Once again, this is my angle bar now. This is my thin square tubing. I'm gonna concentrate most of my heat on my thicker material. I'm gonna strike my arc. I'm just simply whip up, but concentrating most of my heat on my thicker material, but I make sure that I fuse both materials and penetrate well. This is how it looks. I like to have about half-inch stick out. I don't like to be super perpendicular. I like to have a little angle. If it leaves a slag, you have to drag. Always clean your tip. Okay guys, right here, this is an edge joint. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fuse these two pieces together. This thick piece of metal with this thin piece of metal. This is thin square tubing. This is an angle bar. This is about 1/4 inch thick. This is about 16 inches of an inch thick. Right here, what we're gonna do is same thing. We're gonna focus our heat on the thicker piece of material, and we're only gonna whip enough to fuse the thin square piece of tubing. Keep in mind, this square piece of tubing is hollow and is very thin, so if I put too much heat, it's gonna create a hole, and you don't want to do that. But if it does happen, it's okay, because I'll show you how to patch it. If not, there's a link in the description below. There's a couple of videos that I posted previous to this one on how to patch holes with Fluxcore gasless welding. All right, this is how it's done. That's an edge joint. That's an edge. Oh yeah, the hair comes out again. All right guys, now that I show you my technique on how to weld thin metal to thick metal, this is a thin square tubing. This is a 1/4 inch angle bar. I'll show you guys how to do a technique. How I do it, going vertical downhill. I just concentrate my heat on the thicker metal. I also show you guys how to do it in the flat position. Same thing, you concentrate your heat on the thicker piece of material and whip up just enough to fuse and keep going. Remember, move fast and concentrate most of your heat on the thicker material. I also go ahead and I showed you guys an edge joint. And that one right there was a little more difficult for me to learn at first, because I will concentrate trying to go in the gap or fill the gap rather than concentrating my heat on the thicker material. If you try to fill that gap, you're gonna go ahead and blow holes through, because you need to be concentrating your heat on the thicker material. If you guys have any questions, go ahead, leave them in the comments below. If you guys have any suggestions, go ahead, let me know. I always like to learn. Thank you, appreciate you guys. Cozy Wells, don't forget to like, smash, and subscribe.